C. Nothing in this section shall be considered as imposing upon the assignee any obligation to see to the proper application of the funds advanced by the assignee in consideration of such assignment. Subsistence homesteads. Section 208. To provide for aiding the redistribution of the overbalance of population in industrial centers, $25 million is hereby made available to the President, to be used by him through such agencies as he may establish, and under such regulations as he may make, for making loans for, and otherwise aiding in the purchase of subsistence homesteads. The monies collected as repayment of said loans shall constitute a revolving fund, to be administered as directed by the President, for the purposes of this section. Rules and Regulations. Section 209. The President is authorized to prescribe such rules and regulations as may be necessary to carry out the purposes of this title, and any violation of any such rule or regulation shall be punishable by fine of not to exceed $500 or imprisonment not to exceed 6 months, or both. Issue of securities and sinking fund. Section 210. A. The Secretary of the Treasury is authorized to borrow, from time to time, under the Second Liberty Bond Act, as amended, such amounts as may be necessary to meet the expenditures authorized by this act, or to refund any obligations previously issued under this section, and to issue therefor bonds, notes, certificates of indebtedness, or Treasury bills of the United States. B. For each fiscal year beginning with the fiscal year 1934, there is hereby appropriated, in addition to, and as part of, the cumulative sinking fund provided by Section 6 of the Victory Liberty Loan Act, as amended, out of any money, in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, for the purpose of such fund, an amount equal to 2.5% of the aggregate amount of the expenditures made out of appropriations made or authorized under this act, as determined by the Secretary of the Treasury. Reemployment and relief taxes. Section 211. A. Effective as of the day following the date of the enactment of this act. Section 617. A. Of the Revenue Act of 1932 is amended by striking out 1 cent and inserting in lieu thereof 1.5 cents. B. Effective as of the day following the date of the enactment of this act. Section 617. C. 2. Of such act is amended by adding at the end thereof a new sentence to read as follows. As used in this paragraph, the term benzol does not include benzol sold for use otherwise than as a fuel for the propulsion of motor vehicles, motorboats, or airplanes, and otherwise than in the manufacture or production of such fuel. Section 212. Titles 4 and 5 of the Revenue Act of 1932 are amended by striking out 1934 wherever appearing therein, and by inserting in lieu thereof 1935. Section 761 of the Revenue Act of 1932 is further amended by striking out "and on July 1, 1933, and inserting in lieu thereof "and on July 1, 1933, and on July 1, 1934. Section 213. A. There is hereby imposed upon the receipt of dividends, required to be included in the gross income of the recipient, under the provisions of the Revenue Act of 1932, by any person other than a domestic corporation, an excise tax equal to 5% of the amount thereof, such tax, to be deducted and withheld from such dividends by the payer corporation. The tax imposed by the section shall not apply to dividends declared before the date of the enactment of this act. B. Every corporation required to deduct and withhold any tax under this section shall, on or before the last day of the month following the payment of the dividend, make return thereof, and pay the tax to the collector of the district in which its principal place of business is located, or, if it has no principal place of business in the United States, to the collector at Baltimore, Maryland. C. Every such corporation is hereby made liable for such tax, and is hereby indemnified against the claims and demands of any person for the amount of any payment made in accordance with the provisions of this section. D. The provisions of sections 115, 771 to 774, inclusive, and 1111 of the Revenue Act of 1932 shall be applicable with respect to the tax imposed by this section. E. The taxes imposed by the section shall not apply to the dividends of any corporation enumerated in Section 103 of the Revenue Act of 1932, Section 214. Section 104 of the Revenue Act of 1932 is amended by striking out the words "the surtax" wherever occurring in such section, and inserting in lieu thereof any internal revenue tax. The heading of such section is amended by striking out surtaxes, and inserting in lieu thereof internal revenue taxes. Section 13(c) of such act is amended by striking out surtax, and inserting in lieu thereof internal revenue tax. Section 215. A. For each year ending June 30th, there is hereby imposed upon every domestic corporation with respect to carrying on or doing business for any part of such year an excise tax of $1 for each $1,000 of the adjusted declared value of its capital stock. B. For each year ending June 30th, there is hereby imposed upon every foreign corporation with respect to carrying on or doing business in the United States for any part of such year an excise tax equivalent to $1 for each $1,000 of the adjusted declared value of capital employed in the transaction of its business in the United States. C. The taxes imposed by the section shall not apply 1. To any corporation enumerated in Section 103 of the Revenue Act of 1932. 2. To any insurance company subject to the tax imposed by Section 201 or 204 of such act. 3. To any domestic corporation in respect of the year ending June 30th, 1933. If it did not carry on or do business during a part of the period from the date of the enactment of this act to June 30th, 1933, both dates inclusive, or 4. To any foreign corporation in respect of the year ending June 30th, 1933, if it did not carry on or do business in the United States during a part of the period from the day of the enactment of this act to June 30th, 1933, both dates inclusive. D. Every corporation liable for tax under this section shall make a return under oath within 1 month after the close of the year with respect to which such tax is imposed to the collector for the district in which is located its principal place of business, or, if it has no principal place of business in the United States, then to the collector at Baltimore, Maryland. Such return shall contain such information and be made in such manner as the Commissioner, with the approval of the Secretary, may by regulations prescribe. The tax shall, without assessment by the Commissioner or notice from the collector, be due and payable to the collector before the expiration of the period for filing the return. If the tax is not paid when due, there shall be added as part of the tax interest at the rate of 1% a month from the time when the tax became due until paid. All provisions of law, including penalties, applicable in respect of the taxes imposed by Section 600 of the Revenue Act of 1926 shall, insofar as not inconsistent with this section, be applicable in respect of the taxes imposed by the section. The Commissioner may extend the time for making the returns and paying the taxes imposed by this section under such rules and regulations as he may prescribe with the approval of the Secretary, but no such extension shall be for more than 60 days. E. Returns required to be filed for the purpose of the tax imposed by the section shall be open to inspection in the same manner, to the same extent, and subject to the same provisions of law, including penalties, as returns made under Title II of the Revenue Act of 1926, f. for the first year ending June 30th in respect of which a tax is imposed by the section upon any corporation. The adjusted declared value shall be the value, as declared by the corporation in its first return under this section, which declaration of value cannot be amended. As of the close of its last income tax taxable year ending at or prior to the close of the year for which the tax is imposed by this section, or, as of the date of organization, in the case of a corporation having no income tax taxable year ending at or prior to the close of the year for which the tax is imposed by this section. For any subsequent year ending June 30th, the adjusted declared value, in the case of a domestic corporation, shall be the original declared value, plus 1. The cash and fair market value of property paid in for stock or shares. 2. paid in surplus and contributions to capital, and 3. Earnings and profits, and minus a. The value of property distributed in liquidation to shareholders, b. Distributions of earnings and profits, and c. Deficits, whether operating or non-operating. Each adjustment being made for the period from the date as of which the original declared value was declared to the close of its last income taxable year ending at or prior to the close of the year for which the tax is imposed by this section. For any subsequent year ending June 30th, the adjusted declared value, in the case of a foreign corporation, shall be the original declared value adjusted, in accordance with regulations prescribed by the Commissioner, with the approval of the Secretary, to reflect increases, or decreases, for the period specified in the preceding sentence, in the capital employed in the transaction of its business, in the United States,